In a sport where silence speaks louder than words, the tennis world has been anything but quiet. In May 2025, tennis was rocked, not by a match, not by a title, but by a storm that no one saw coming. A doping allegation against the world number one, Jannik Sinner, but what followed was even more shocking. Rafael Nadal, the king of clay, stepped into the spotlight, not to swing a racket, but to defend Sinner. This is the Nadal-Sinner doping drama, and it might change tennis forever. To understand the magnitude of this scandal, we first need to understand who Jannik Sinner is. A boy from the snow-covered mountains of northern Italy, Sinner was never the loudest, never the most flamboyant, but he was precise, efficient, ruthless, and by 2025 he had climbed his way to the top, becoming the first Italian male to be ranked world number one in the Open era. He had it all: slam wins, a polished reputation, and a growing fan base across Europe and Asia. But then, on May 3rd, during a random drug screening at the Madrid Open, traces of a banned substance, ostarine, were allegedly found in his system. Ostarine is not just any substance, it's a selective androgen receptor modulator, often used to build lean muscle mass. It's on the WADA prohibited list. The test result? Inconclusive, but that didn't stop the rumors. Within hours, tennis Twitter exploded. Fans were split, some cried foul, others whispered sabotage, and then Nadal spoke. Rafael Nadal, the man who built his legacy on discipline, silence, and sweat, is not known for controversy. In fact, throughout his 2-decade career, Nadal has rarely commented on doping cases, even when peers like Maria Sharapova or Simona Halep were involved. But this time, he couldn't stay silent. At a press event before his Roland Garros farewell tournament, he shocked the press by making a statement that echoed through the sport like a dropped racket in an empty stadium. Insert dramatized quote, slow build. I know Jannik. I've trained with him. I've watched his dedication, his ethics. I don't believe he would cheat. If tennis loses someone like him to rumors, we all lose something greater, our integrity. It wasn't just a defense, it was a public declaration of faith. And from Nadal, that meant something. It wasn't just a PR move, it was a calculated risk. But why would Nadal stick his neck out for someone else's controversy? Some say it's because he sees Sinner as his successor, someone who can carry the torch. Others believe he's protecting the sport itself. Tennis isn't just a game, it's a billion-dollar machine. Federations, sponsors, agents, media rights. A scandal like this threatens more than just a player. It threatens the system, and that's where things get murky. Insert tense instrumental music. Insiders have pointed to several oddities. For one, Sinner's sample was taken by a third-party contractor, not WADA directly. Second, no official suspension was handed out. Only a provisional review was announced. Meanwhile, conspiracy theories flooded Reddit and Telegram groups. Was it a setup? Was a rival camp trying to take him down? Was this an internal warning shot from the tennis elite? And amidst all this noise, Nadal's words rang louder, because when Nadal speaks, the sport listens. This isn't the first time tennis has faced a doping dilemma. Let's rewind. 2016, Maria Sharapova tested positive for meldonium. Result, 15-month suspension. 2022, Simona Halep's suspension created ripples as she was a Grand Slam champion and one of the WTA's brightest stars. 2023, Fernando Verdasco, one of Nadal's countrymen, was suspended due to an ADHD medication violation. But in each of these cases, there was one thing missing: a current world number 1. That's what makes Sinner's case different. If proven guilty, Sinner would be the highest ranked male player in the history of the sport to fall under doping suspicion. And the consequences? Devastating. It would mean the ATP's ranking system would be compromised. It would cast a shadow on every tournament Sinner has won since 2023, including the Australian Open and Wimbledon, and it would destroy the credibility of tennis's most exciting rivalry, Sinner versus Alcaraz. In Italy, where Sinner is a national hero, the reaction was mixed. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni publicly expressed full support for Sinner, calling him a symbol of integrity and Italian excellence. But not all voices were as supportive. Former players like Fabio Fognini, never one to shy away from controversy, made cryptic remarks about not being surprised when the game is about money. Even Sinner's own coach, Darren Cahill, was visibly shaken in interviews, and yet the most powerful show of support didn't come from Italy. It came from Mallorca. Nadal didn't need to get involved. He's a legend, 22 Grand Slams, countless accolades. He could have quietly retired, walked into the sunset, and no one would have questioned his dignity. But by speaking up, he put his reputation on the line. What if Sinner is proven guilty? Would Nadal's words be seen as naivety, or worse, complicity? Some pundits believe Nadal is leveraging his clean record to influence public opinion. Others think it's a power play, a final move to shape the culture of tennis before he exits the stage. Whatever the motive, one thing is certain: Nadal didn't speak for Sinner alone. He spoke for a generation of players that still believe in honor. As of now, the investigation into Sinner's sample is ongoing. Independent labs have been called in. The ATP has pledged transparency, but fans remain skeptical. What happens if the sample is cleared? Will Sinner be vindicated, or will the stain remain? And what if he's suspended? Does Alcaraz take over as the new undisputed number one? One question mark: will tennis split into factions? Those who stood by Sinner and those who turned away? And more importantly, will Nadal's defense be remembered as a noble stand or a tragic miscalculation? Tennis, like all sports, is built on trust. Trust in the lines, trust in the opponent, trust in the system. But today, that trust is being tested. The Nadal-Sinner drama is no longer just about a failed drug test. It's about identity. It's about legacy. It's about the kind of sport tennis will become in the AI-driven, media-frenzied world of 2025. And maybe that's why Nadal spoke, because some legacies are worth protecting, even if they're not your own. Will the truth come out? Will tennis emerge stronger? Or are we watching the beginning of a much deeper unraveling? Time will tell. But one thing is certain. In 2025, tennis is no longer just about the game. It's about the players who dare to stand up when everything is on the line. Thanks for watching this deep dive into the Nadal-Sinner doping drama. If this story gripped you, hit that like button, subscribe for more tennis documentaries, and let us know in the comments, was Nadal right to speak out? And what does this mean for the future of our sport? Until next time, stay sharp, stay clean, and stay curious.